fishing time already?
Yes.
Thank you. Clink, clink. Clink, clink. No, stop. Get me off this thing. Don't tip me over the edge. Please, please, please. Whoa. Whoa. Ah! Oh. We? Have you ever been on a roller coaster and just not known whether you'll live till the end? I know that's how I feel every time I ride roller coasters. Then one day came my first trip to Cedar Point. Ever since that first trip, I've gone to Cedar Point 5 times since then, and each time has been better than the last. Cedar Point is not just for thrill seekers and wind riders, it's also for those who like seeing others ride instead of riding the rides themselves. Whether you're old or young, short or tall, I guarantee you will have a blast at America's roller coaster, Cedar Point. According to PointBuzz.com, on an average day at Cedar Point, the park receives about 45,000 visitors. That makes it safe to say that almost everyone in this room has been there before, or at least thought about going. First, we will get strapped in and discover the history of Cedar Point. Next, we'll climb up the tracks and discuss the variety Cedar Point has to offer. Then, we can zoom by the topic of Cedar Point's competition. And finally, we can jerk to a stop and discuss how Cedar Point gives back to its members and community. Now, let's ride into how Cedar Point came to be. Cedar Point was first introduced to the world in 1870 when Louis Zistel bought the peninsula and started bringing people over in a steamboat to fish, camp, and swim. But it was in 1892 when Cedar Point's first roller coaster was opened. The Switchback Railway was a 25-foot roller coaster that reached speeds up to 10 miles per hour. Over the course of the next 50 years, Cedar Point added on almost 40 new roller coasters, one of them including the Blue Streak, which you can still ride at Cedar Point today. But it was in 2000 that Cedar Point added on the first roller coaster to ever break the 300-foot drop barrier. And I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, the Millennium Force. Now that you know a little bit about how Cedar Point started the roller coaster revolution, let's pick up the ride a little bit and discuss the varieties Cedar Point has to offer. We can divide everything Cedar Point has into 4 categories: park rides, water rides, games, and entertainment. Let's face it, Cedar Point is known for its rides. With 17 thrilling roller coasters and rides for families and kids, every type of stomach has a ride they can handle. Whether you are interested in bumpy rides that make your head hurt, Cedar Point has wooden roller coasters that can really put a skip in your step. For those, and some other rides you may be familiar with are the Top Thrill Dragster, which broke records in 2012 for being the fastest and tallest roller coaster in the world. There's also the Millennium Force, which I mentioned before, and the Magnum XL 200, which is also a crowd favorite. For those who like roller coasters on land as well as in the water, Soak City, the water version of Cedar Point, has many water slides, such as the Dragster H2O, the Zoom Flume, and Erie Falls, which I must say feel great after a long day of walking around the park in 100-degree heat. For those who aren't really into the whole thrill ride concept, Cedar Point has games and activities for all ages. Maybe you'll win yourself a stuffed Jamaican banana that's as big as you. Plus, every day, Cedar Point has shows set up on stages around the park. Whether you're in the mood for a sing-along for kids or an extreme bike trick show for all ages, I guarantee there will be something for you. Plus, every year around Halloween, Cedar Point has Hollow Weekends, where there are skeletons, zombies, and fortune tellers all around. Now that we have talked about how Cedar Point is right for you, let's talk about how Cedar Point compares to its competition. When comparing Cedar Point to Michigan Adventure and Kings Island, we can truly see how Cedar Point outshines both of them, starting with the amount of rides at each park. Cedar Point has over 70 rides at the park. Michigan Adventure has 50, and Kings Island has 80. Now, I know you may be thinking, Kings Island has 80 rides, so why should I go to Cedar Point? Well, that's easy. Kings Island has never broken a record like Cedar Point has. Now let's compare cost. A one-day ticket at Cedar Point costs $51.99. A one-day ticket at Kings Island costs $40. And a one-day ticket at Michigan Adventure costs $30. But the difference is, if you buy a ticket to Cedar Point, you're paying for 2 more miles of roller coaster track than both Michigan Adventure and Kings Island. Now let's compare hospitality. At Cedar Point, there is 3 hotels, all on property, a marina, and a campground. At Kings Island, there's only 1 hotel on property, and at Michigan Adventure, there are none. Therefore, concluding that that Cedar Point is the right vacation spot for you, and is always ready to meet you and your family's needs. Now that we have talked about how Cedar Point really tears up the competition, let's jerk to a stop and discuss how Cedar Point gives back to its members and community. Cedar Point takes part in dozens of charities all around the world every year. Whether it's donating to Toys for Tots or packaging food for local food banks, to letting those kids who maybe can't go to school every day or feel the thrill of riding their first roller coaster come to the park and feel that thrill. Cedar Point does not just tie itself down to one charity, it's always giving. Now that we have talked about the history of Cedar Point and how it came to be, the different aspects of the park, what Cedar Point has to offer to you, or the competition and how Cedar Point compares to it, and how Cedar Point gives back to its community, we can surely see how Cedar Point is right for you. Next time you want to do something daring or crazy, make it be going to Cedar Point, where that Jamaican banana will be waiting. Hope to see you soon at America's Roller Coast, Cedar Point.